So while we are setting up YouTube to go live on one of the channels in our ecosystem on YouTube, let me know, everybody, if you did your homework last week. Last week, you promised me you would do your homework. So I want to know if that actually happened, if you were able to do your homework. I don't see myself here. Let's see. Going live. Here I am. Okay. So I'm live on YouTube and let's see if you guys are in here. Let me see if anybody has had the chance to get your homework done. Hey, Errol, how you doing? Rhonda, hey, everybody. Let me know as you guys start coming in here. We had homework. So I want to know if you guys finished your homework. Let me know. Let me know. Peace, everybody. Peace. If you have questions for tonight, you can, everybody who's joining me on Zoom, you can put your questions in Q&A or you can just type it into the comments. I will be, as much as I possibly can, look at your questions and see if I can get them answered. Linda, how you doing? You get your homework done? No homework? You're not in a relationship? Well, it's self-development. So you don't know. Sometimes we have to be there. Sometimes you can look at any type of relationship. What we're talking about in the Healing Haven Book Club can be used it can be used with any relationship, parent-child relationship. It doesn't have to be romantic relationship, although that's what I use in a lot of my examples. But anyway, so welcome everybody. I see you guys coming in here. Welcome back, Healing Haven family. This is the book club. Tonight, everybody, we come together. We are going to explore this book, How to Be an Adult in Relationships, The 5 Keys to Mindful Loving by David Rico. We are on chapter 7, and we're at the part of the chapter where we got to get our journals out. Y'all will have homework today. You had homework last week, so I'm going to be calling on everybody who got their homework done. This is self-development, you guys, so you have to invest in yourself. Today, we're going to be talking about the art of letting go of the need to be right. Letting go of the need to be right in relationships. We are invited, I think, today for us to reflect on how our ego, pride, control, being defensive, all of these things can interfere with our ability to connect authentically with ourselves and with other people. Romantic relationships, has a way of exposing the raw, I think, the tender places that we try to protect. So romantic relationships are unique. They are unique, but even if you're not in a romantic relationship, I think it's still an opportunity, very powerful opportunity to think about how we need to surrender the urge to be right. And instead, in our relationships with others, focus on empathy, generosity, true connections with individuals. So last session, we began with 2 important reflections. Anyone have their homework done? 2 important reflections? Anyone have it? Let me know. We had 2 journaling assignments, reflecting on regrets from your past, moments where we hold emotional weight and consider how much energy is tied up into these old stories. We went through that process. And then our second homework is to talk about how your ego shows up in conflict. And do you dig in to win, or do you soften into compassion and curiosity? So I'm just curious. Anybody else? Eric, hello, welcome. No homework. I still encourage you, Linda, to come on in and try some of this. If you are watching this on YouTube, welcome. You might want to engage with me live. You might want to ask questions, get your shout outs during the session. Greetings to YouTube. you can join us on Zoom to get a shout out in your questions answered. Text love, LOVE, to 87948. And if any of you guys want access to the full replays, bonus resources and everything, becoming part of, well, I think the people on Zoom, y'all part of my healing haven. Everybody on Zoom is part of my healing haven. But if you want to be part of the inner circle, and you get the full replays of everything that we've talked about, let me drop the website in here for you to sign up for replays, because sometimes you will have access to it and sometimes you will not. Okay, so let me type in the link here in Zoom world, and then I'm gonna try to find, where are we on YouTube? Hello, YouTube. I will, let's see, I will put, oh, wait a second. Okay, here we go. On YouTube. I don't know how to do it on YouTube. Chat. I will open up the chat. Live chat. I don't know why I'm not able to go in here. I don't know why I'm not able to put a comment on YouTube for some reason. I can't get a comment. Okay, let me see if I can try this way. No, I don't know how to put a comment in on YouTube. Okay, that's okay. Well, we will put the link in for people who are in on Zoom. That is what matters. If you are on YouTube, you go to draliciabookclub.com/inner circle, and that's where you can be part of the inner circle community. Hi, Eric, how you doing? Eric says my ego says something is wrong with the other person who has an issue with me. I bend over backwards to please others and never the aggressor. Okay, that's interesting, Eric. Okay, hold on to that thought. That's very timely input, because we're gonna cover this today. So, okay, I think it's time to dive in. It's time to dive into the book club. We are, just to let everybody know, particularly in YouTube world, we are talking about How to Be an Adult in Relationships, The 5 Keys to Mindful Loving by David Rico. I have the paper copy of the book. We are on chapter 7, and I am looking at page 209, page 209, and it's interesting. We're going to cover this section, letting go of the need to be right. We are also going to cover about how to free ourselves from ego entitlement. Some people feel like they're entitled to things. And so we'll talk about those two topics today. And before I start, letting go of the need to be right. How many of you guys, I'm just curious, how many of you guys in relationship find that when we feel misunderstood or hurt, that the ego wants to defend itself? The ego wants to win the argument. Your ego wants to prove a point or feel justified. How many of you guys been in? I got to raise my hand. I do this a lot. Sometimes in relationships, it's so easy to fall in the trap of needing to be right. So we're going to talk about what to do about that, because the moment we insist on being right, we are often making who has to be wrong. If we insist that we're right and you're in a relationship with somebody, who's going to be wrong? What? Your partner. Hi, Wanda, how you doing? When you insist on the need to be right, you're often making your partner wrong. That dynamic does not help the relationship. I call it a losing strategy, because there's no connection there. So the ego sees arguments and conflict as competition. You've done that? Thank you. Who said they've done that? Let me look. Aha. Okay. Oh, okay. Rika Rapper. Yes. You've done that where you feel like you need to be right. But what it does is that there's no collaboration. There's only competition. Like your partner is an enemy. And sometimes even if you prove I'm right, it gives you a sense of power that leaves your partner feeling unheard, unseen, dismissed, blamed. It's a losing strategy because it prioritizes winning over understanding. So real intimacy requires us to soften. And you need to ask, do I want to be right? Or do I want to have closeness with this person? So part of letting go of ego is letting go of the need to be right. It doesn't mean giving up your truth, because all of us have our truth, but it means being human, being open, not as a weapon, but as a bridge to closeness. Okay, so we got to drop this ego's need to win and instead show empathy, curiosity, real dialogue. That's where trust grows, and that's where you have true connection with somebody. Okay, okay, let's see. I have a question here. So what if you are right? That's not the point of it. That's not the point. Sometimes it is as simple as right or wrong, such as a direction on the road, not when it comes to connection. So think about it. Right or wrong is not about the direction on the road. You're going in the right direction when you're connecting with your partner. So if you want to make it where you're right and your partner's wrong, then you're going down the road, but you're not going in the same direction. You're not connecting with your partner. So train your mind to kind of think about that. Yes, yes, yes. Okay. Let's see another comment. The whole relationship is a competition. No, step. You needed to walk away. Well, you could just say, I'm not going to make this a competition. I want to hear where you're coming from. You hear where I'm coming from. And if you can't do that, of course, and if you're struggling in those ways, you can always reach out to me. I don't take sides in couples work. I don't take sides. Honestly, I do take a side. When I work with couples, I'm on the side of healthy relationships. That's who the side I'm on. I'm fighting against toxic, dismissive relationships. And my whole being when I work with couples is I'm on the side of what is healthy. So I ain't interested in the both of you. I'm interested in a healthy relationship. Okay, so today we're going to learn exactly how we're going to do this. Now that we understand the importance of letting go of the need to be right, we're going to listen to what David Rico says about how to get there. Okay, so let me turn to my light so I can see everything. Okay, so page 209. The need to be right comes from our fear of loss of approval. Our fear of the loss of approval, that's where the need to be right comes from. If I'm wrong, we think I lose my identity and thus my approvability. Our need to be right may take the form of an inability to accept criticism, which we usually equate with insult. How dare you? It may also take the form of always having to explain that we are completely warranted in a decision or action whenever we are called to account. Taking accountability. We're not going to take accountability of how we made another person feel because what I said was right. So I don't need to take accountability. It may include inordinate insistence that others apologize. This reaction these reactions are automatic for most of us. In other words, not conscious. You don't know that this dynamic is at play sometimes. But now we're talking about how this dynamic plays. It's your ego. I think it's really interesting. I love watching examples of people who aren't interested in being right, and they just listen, and they just go ahead and they try to connect. To me, it's just beautiful, because sometimes when you do that, it just shows how mature you are. It shows that you don't need to convince other people that you're worthy or you're better. And you just kind of just nod and listen. I mean, it takes such restraint to be able to not to argue with somebody about what is real to them. I think it's really interesting. To be an adult means expending the effort to become conscious of how much ego underlines our behavior, thoughts, and motivation. My way is the right way. Can be transformed into I negotiate so that both of us win. Both win. Negotiate so that both of us win. That's a better strategy. I look for what is true and build on it. Common ground, looking for common ground and having to build on the common ground. Opening ourselves to others winning also leads to and creates safety in the very closeness we feared. That is very, very fascinating. I think that's how it could be a win-win situation for both of us. So let's see, what he's saying in this section is that, I think it's interesting. I think sometimes it can be related to some unhealed, when I think about unhealed wounds in the past, what is going on in the mind of somebody who feels like they have to be right? So I think like earlier in life, especially in childhood, I think we carry a lot of pain into our adult relationships. And I think like in disagreements, being right can feel like we're reclaiming our worth. We're saying that I'm avoiding feeling powerlessness again. Yeah. And I think like being right isn't the healing that we're looking for. We're really craving to be understood and to feel safe and to feel loved. So the ego, since we're talking about ego, the ego confuses, it distorts being right with being worthy, but they're not the same. So I think it's great to make like that distinction, because I think some of the old wounds that we have, all of us have it. I have wounds, all of us have wounds. And you have to be conscious of the fact that, a disagreement over dishes, this is the right way to do dishes. What are you doing? Can echo, no one ever listened to me. Listen to me now. And I think this sort of awareness is so important. We recognize sometimes like the fight to be right is coming from a deeper place. So this is just kind of thinking about that, making that shift about being right, because sometimes being wrong is devastating. I have made mistakes in the past. I was even talking to my husband about it. I'm like, oh my God, I did this. It was such a mistake. I felt so much shame. Every time I make a mistake, I'm like, what's wrong with me? Why didn't I know better? And you can kind of be neurotic and get into that. But I think that, I don't know, just because you did something wrong, it doesn't mean you are wrong. So sometimes I laugh at my mistakes, or sometimes I just understand how sometimes you just feel guilty about doing something incorrect. So I think where the ego steps in to defend us, the ego is saying you have to be right in order to be safe. You have to be right in order to be lovable And that's distorted. I don't think that's right. So we need to separate your behavior from you as a person. You don't need to justify your worth because you're just worthy as a human being. And so being wrong, you can make a mistake and still be a person of integrity, still be a person of value, still be a person who's lovable. Like a wrong turn on the road, if you're trying to go in a certain direction, it doesn't mean that the entire journey is oh, I got a low battery. Okay. It doesn't mean that your entire journey is wrong, just because you make the wrong turn, it just means that you need to get back on track. So I don't know. I think this is a great way to look at this. Okay. So we are on page 210. And we're moving on, freeing ourselves from ego entitlement. I need to charge up my phone. Hold on a second. Oh, okay. All right. Get my phone battery going. All right, everybody, welcome. This is Healing Haven Book Club. We are talking about, let me do it the right way. We're talking about how to be an adult in relationships. I want to welcome everybody on Zoom. Welcome everybody on YouTube. It's the 5 Keys to Mindful Loving by David Rico. We are finishing up chapter 7. We are talking about letting go of ego, figuring out where that comes from, and, talking about my way is the right way and that kind of mindset, trying to break away from the mindset, making a win-win situation between you and your partner so that there's closeness there and not in the mindset of needing to be right. So I had a few people in here. Welcome everybody here in Zoom world. Welcome everybody in YouTube. On YouTube, if you want to join me here in Zoom, you can text the word LOVE to 87948. You can come into Zoom, you get your questions answered, you can get the shout out, you can get more interaction if you join us on Zoom. And then I'll put my website in here if you want to get access to the recordings. Let me see, where is the website? Go to draliciabookclub.com/inner circle. And then if you sign up there, you will have access to all of the dozens of videos at this point on the book club where we go over this book. And there's also some bonus material. It's just more stuff that you could even get through in a sitting. So that is really great. Okay, regrets from the past. We did have homework from last time. I want to know, anybody want to comment on the homework? While you do that, I can go through. I want people to make a comment about homework. If you got through the homework that we discussed, processing your regrets in particular, and doing something different. Remember, I gave you the challenge of making amends. How is that? Okay, Eric has a comment. I asked this female at the bar for her phone number, and she told me she was a man. Oh, Eric. Oh my God. I respect that. However, I didn't go out of my way, but I flirted with her and every other female at the bar, just socializing, nothing inappropriate. I just noticed she feels the same type of way, even though I talked to everybody. She was a man. Is that serious? That's a big mistake. Oh my goodness. I used to hang out at this club in it's called the Baton Lounge in Chicago. Anybody from Chicago in here? I used to hang out at the Baton Lounge, and it was female impersonators. And some of those men who would dress up as women and perform and everything, they were marvelous. I loved every single one of them. But if I did not know specifically that they were not women, they they were actually men dressed up as women, I would have been floored, because they looked beautiful. Those men who were up there dressed up in drag, they looked absolutely gorgeous. Like it made me feel shame. I was like, I got to step up my game. These men are outdoing me. And it was such a wonderful time. And it was just so great to see people express themselves. And, I don't know if any of y'all seen this documentary called Paris is Burning. It's about, men who dress up as drag. On Netflix, there's a new show. I guess it's a follow-up show to Paris is Burning. Anyway, I'm going to have my students take a look at it this year, but I think that is so interesting. So is that a regret from you, Eric? Is that a regret you're talking about? Well, I honor and respect the fact that that person told you that they were a man, and I would thank that person, thank you so much for being honest, because that would have been like truly humiliating to, continue and try to pursue a relationship with someone that's not quite what they thought they were. Okay. So that's an interesting regret. Okay. She was a female and says she has a man. I'm sorry, I can't even. Oh, she said she had, okay, well, that's good. That's good that she was honest. She has a man, not that she was a man. Okay, thank you, Eric. Anyway, whatever it is, I think it's always nice for people to be honest, no matter what's going on. So I don't know. Let's see. The need to be right. If I were to come up with a journal, let me give you guys some homework assignment on that before I move on to freeing ourselves from ego entitlement. So what I'd like for you guys to do in your journals, I'd like for you guys to think about a recent disagreement or moment of tension that you had in a relationship, either romantic relationship, a relationship with your family member, or even professional relationship. Think about a recent disagreement. Write down in your journal, what was I trying to prove or protect in that moment? Reflect on that. Did I feel like being wrong would make me feel ashamed, make me feel small or unworthy? So like really, really process that. What did I fear might happen if I let go of the need to be right? What do you fear that would happen? And what did I need? Underneath some of that, what are some of the things that you need? Why were you being so insistent? Why didn't you back off and try to listen? Shifting from the need to be right to I want to understand and connect. So write about that in your journal and see, how might things have changed? What truth could you have built on together with the other person that failed to happen? So I really think that that'd be really, really interesting, because I think what David Rico is saying in this section is that being wrong doesn't make you unworthy. Your worth is not up for debate. There's no need for you to argue with somebody about your worth. That's already intact. So, letting go of the need for people to see you in a certain way and really show up. Anyway, okay. So we're going to talk about, so that's your homework assignment. Okay. Miss Martin here says, I really looked at my possible regrets and realized they all taught me something that I would not trade for not know. What did they teach you? Irma, tell us what they taught you. Tell us what they taught you. Okay, so as we continue our conversation, type in some profound insights you guys gained from last week's homework assignment. Just want to let you know this week's homework assignment, thinking about when you're in an argument and protecting, what are you protecting in that moment when you're in an argument, the need to be right? Okay, because your worth is not up for debate. Everybody's worthy. I was talking to my husband earlier today, and we were talking about the gender war that's happening online sometimes. And I was just like, Why are people attacking and counterattacking? I was talking about how this gets you nowhere. And some of this has to do with our ego. We feel like we have to always be right and we have to always point the finger and say, you're wrong. Men need to do this and women need to do that. I mean, there's no common ground. There's nothing there. And so we were kind of talking about that earlier today. My regret from the past is making self-sabotaging decisions. So the exercise led you, Olympia, your exercise led you to understand that your role in the regrets, the common denominator was that you were sabotaging things, and of course that comes from fear. It makes sense. We all have fears. And so some of that can come from protecting yourself. That's good insight, Olympia. So now you have to be courageous. You have to do it anyway. You have to put yourself out there anyway. How about that? See if you can do that. Okay, so let's continue on. We are talking about freeing ourselves from ego entitlement. We are on page 210. And as you guys write your comments in here about processing your regrets, I will move on and talk about how we can free ourselves from ego entitlement. Okay. Answer the question in this section silently. Do you believe I am entitled to have things go my way, to be told the truth, to be loved, to be cared about and supported by everyone, to have promises made to me and then kept, and to be given special treatment or special consideration in everything I do? Are y'all one of those type of people? Do you hear yourself? Do you feel like you are just entitled to everybody being honest with you? Does that sound like you? Behind these beliefs are rationalizations. Promises should be kept. I am special. It can't happen to me. And how dare they? Such beliefs may mask the fear of deprivation. That's a mask. I won't get enough. I won't get what's rightfully mine. I won't survive as an individual person if I have to be like everybody else. To think this way is to ignore a condition of existence. Things are not always fair or equal. It is not. Things will not go your way. You are going to lose. People won't always be respectful to you. What do you feel about that? Ego entitlement says, I deserve to have things go my way. So what that sounds like is, I'm entitled to always be told the truth. People should love me, care about me, appreciate me on a constant basis. Promises that are made to me should always be kept. And if it's not, how dare you? You're clutching your pearls. I deserve special treatment because I'm different. But how realistic is that? Thank you, Linda. That's not. And it's funny because David Rico is saying on the surface, these beliefs may seem like common sense, right? Like that should happen to everybody in the ideal world, but it's ego driven. That sometimes we have rigid expectations, and all that's going to do is setting yourself up for disappointment, more resentments, and isolating yourself, because the world is not going to be catering to you in that way. So behind these beliefs, he's talking about there's these rationalizations. Okay, I'm special. It's only fair. This is what I'm owed. But deeper than that, he's saying that there's a fear of deprivation. I won't get enough. I won't get what's rightfully mine. No one will meet my needs unless I demand it. So I think this is interesting. It's like the ego distorts our view of reality. Just like Linda said, how realistic is that? It distorts our view. The truth is that life is not fair. Life is not equal. People don't always meet our needs. Promises do get broken. Love sometimes actually falls short. This does not mean you aren't worthy. It just means you're human. These things happen. And I don't like it. Nobody likes it, but the world didn't promise you all of this. So I like this, letting go of ego entitlement. What he's saying is that it doesn't mean passive. It doesn't mean accepting mistreatment. Doesn't mean not setting boundaries. It means shifting our expectations and in a way where the world expecting the world to serve us, to learn how to meet our needs. I don't know, that's just not, you're owed something. The world doesn't owe you anything. So entitlement, from entitlement, we have to have some resilience. So anyway, I think that's pretty interesting. I try to tell my children this, like they come home every day and things happen to them and it's like less than what they hoped it to be. And I'm like, I try to be a soft place for them to process all of that. But sometimes I'm like, sometimes you won't get it right. My dad used to tell me that all the time. He'd be like, Alicia, you're not going to win everything. He's like, you will lose. But guess what? Even though you lose, you're also going to win sometimes, but the world does not owe you. I was getting my PhD and I remember calling my dad like in tears. I'm like, these people, they were not being nice to me. And he was like, sometimes they not nice. It's like, he's like, sometimes it's hard. There are people, he would share stories with me about, because he had a doctorate. And he would say, there are some people that never got the degree. That's why getting a doctorate at a big research one institution is just tough. It's hard. They don't owe you anything. They don't owe you anything. You have to kind of like do what you need to do, but there's an element of getting a doctorate that you can't control. That's a lesson you learn quickly when you're in academia. Oh, at academia. Anybody get through academia is a tough cookie. You are a tough cookie. So, oh my gosh. Oh, okay. Let's see what the comments say before I move on to the next paragraph. I always give my best and expect the best from people to do the same. I know, I do too. I don't like being disappointed. Disappointment definitely comes despite how open and kind I am to the person or persons. Not very realistic. No, Rhonda, we're learning today. That is not realistic. Despite how open, peaceful, and loving you may attempt to be, people can only meet you as deeply as they have met themselves. Who, Matt Kahn say that? This is the heart of charity. Yes. I mean, you just have to do it out of the goodness of your heart. Just be who and what you want to be. And if other people don't appreciate that, you can move on to people who do appreciate you. Yeah, that's really good, Rhonda. Thank you. Thank you, Rhonda. All right. But it's our ego that lets us know that that we're entitled. No, you're not entitled. Okay, so let's move on. Page 210 in our book, How to Be an Adult in Relationships, The 5 Keys to Mindful Loving by David Richo, as we chop through chapter 7 here. Okay, entitlement can take the form of expectation, overreaction to being taken advantage of, an overreaction of a history of being taken advantage of, entitlement, a sense of being owed something, or a belief that we are being cheated. So you're a little skeptical of the world. The best example of this feature of ego is the reaction we might have when we are cut off in traffic. How dare you cut me off in traffic? Does the feeling of, how dare he do that to me, turn into a frantic and vengeful chase? Oh, I hate when people do that in traffic. Does it stick in your craw for the rest of the day? Are you walking around thinking about getting cut off? Vengefulness and indignation are clues to the presence of an arrogant, narcissistic, and ultimately very scared ego. Whoa. Didn't expect that, did you? That is interesting. You don't know those people in that car. People aren't gonna walk around. It's naive to think that other people who are driving have that much care so much about you in your situation. That's naive to think that, and then to be upset with that and carry it around with you. They're saying that's arrogant. But behind the angry sense of humiliation is sadness that we have not been treated with love and respect. How dare you not treat me with love and respect? The things we believe we are entitled to from everybody. Wow, you expect everybody to worship you because you're nice. Okay. What we really mean to say when someone cuts us off in traffic is, how dare you not treat me with respect? How dare you not love me? They don't even know you. Why would they love you? Secretly, the ego believes it has the right. It has always had a right to that. Make a commitment to ask for love directly each time you notice yourself falling into one of the ego reactions described in this chapter. Oh boy. This is an interesting thing. I think you guys need to, like, for a second journal, reflect on a moment where you felt emotionally triggered. Maybe you thought, how dare you ignore me? How dare you not keep your promise? All of that. And write about, what did I feel I was entitled to in that moment? Okay, think about that. Think about that. Reflect on a moment where you felt emotionally triggered. Maybe you thought, how dare you? Think about what you felt you were entitled to in that moment. What is the ego saying? Ego is saying, I deserve better. You owe me. This shouldn't be happening to me. What is the ego saying? What deeper fear or unmet need is hiding behind that reaction? Maybe you're afraid of abandonment, feeling unseen, wanting reassurance. You need safety. All of these are human things that we need to get in contact with, in touch with, in ourselves, so that we're not faced with indignant entitlement. I think you can also comment on what it would look like to pause and ask for love directly with the people that are important to you. Can you reassure me now? I need to feel seen and heard or loved right now. Can we talk about that? Okay. Yes, you felt, Irma is saying, I felt entitled to reciprocity. Yeah, have a conversation. Have a conversation with that person. How might the conversation or relationship shift from, you're supposed to treat me this way, to asking for what you need? So the next time your ego says, how dare you? This is your challenge. Pause, breathe, ask directly for what your heart truly needs. Probably for all of us, we need love and humility. We all need this. Okay. All right, everybody. Those are 2 sections for this week. Next week, let me see what's going on next week. Let me look at my calendar. Oh, I'll be available. So next week I'll be available. I'll be in Florida, I think, next week, but that's okay. I still got my computer and I still got Wi-Fi. So next week we're going to talk about dropping pretense, and we'll talk about letting go of pouting. People are pouting, and letting go of blame. So we'll get into a little bit of this next week. So as we close tonight's session of Healing Haven, I just want to thank all of you guys. Thank you, everybody in Zoom. Thank you, everybody in YouTube world, for showing up today. I mean, I think coming to the Healing Haven Book Club, you're really showing up for yourselves. You're showing up for your relationships. And letting go of ego is a big thing. So we explore today, let's see, how to be right, to be entitled, on guard, to guard ourselves with pride. Some of this is a natural human defense, but it's a losing strategy, not the path of love. It's not about right or wrong. Take the path of love. And I think when we recognize these patterns, that's where true love begins. You know, compassion, not judgment. We soften the edges of our ego, making space for truth, your partner's truth, other people's truth. Make space for that difference and connecting, and this is how we heal. So I don't know, I invite you all to carry this with you. You don't have to be right to be worthy. You don't have to be perfect to be loved. You just have to be yourself. I want y'all to keep journaling, keep reflecting. I'm giving you all challenges each week. So keep practicing, asking for love directly, because, you know, your needs matter. You don't want to neglect your needs, but don't let the ego take over. If you're joining me on YouTube, you want to go deeper with some of this, YouTube individuals, please text LOVE, LOVE, to 87948 to join our live Zoom community. It's a community of folks. I got to know everybody. I know where everybody lives. I know what city y'all from. For full replays, head over to draliciabookclub.com/inner circle. Let's see if I can put it in the chat here. /inner circle. Okay. So there it is if you want to do that. Yes, until next time, next week, stay grounded, stay open. Remember, healing is not about being right. It's all about being your real self. Okay, everybody, y'all got it? Okay. All right. Goodbye, everybody.